I've done a ton of work and research to make better magic since I made my first magic system. I think it's time we take a look at it, see what went wrong, and fix it. This is not going to be pretty. I'm going to tell you right now, just from this first page, I have way too much. Okay, look at Magic System 1, Soul Gifts. There are 10 categories. Magic System 2 has 2 different rows, so now we're up to at least 30 different abilities. Then Soul Chemistry at the bottom says it's a manufactured combination. We're gonna come back to that in a minute. Then there's Biogifts, so there are 10 more. So now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, at least 40 abilities. Did I say 40? Here is a quick look at Soul Gifts. And here is a quick look at Soul Chemistry. Soul Chemistry alone has 100. No, it has 110. Holy sh**. I added them all up, 182. 182 abilities. The combination possibilities are staggering, and it's just not doable. It's just not. Let's look at Soul Gifts deeper now. Ugh, it's like I just threw every possible idea on the page, and it's just gross. And to make it more manageable, some of the abilities are dormant. What the fuck? As concepts go, my favorites were language and perception, but man, did I make them complicated. And just looking at this page, I'm losing my excitement for them. All right, next page. Okay, so Veselic symbols. The idea behind this was that people could connect their magic with an item or an animal to get a unique ability. Some of these ideas are actually intriguing. For example, a language mage could use a cat to speak to other animals, or could write on a specific type of stone and have truth revealed. Also, I tried to base these in symbolistic meaning. I'm actually pretty proud of this. I might be able to use this later. Soul Chemistry is just the item stuff on steroids. Now every item is connected with every type of magic artificially, and each object does different things when connected to different types of magic. In theory, it's fun, but plenty of them worked. Force growth? What is this? Flexible desires? What does that even mean? And then there's soul chemical processes, which should have a billion different things, considering how many possible combinations there are. But I only have 8. Amateur hour. Ugh. Okay, let's start fresh and fix this ish. I'm gonna start out by laying some of the groundwork, coming up with the narrative needs, sliding that hard versus soft meter, and a few pieces of basic info. Because this is a magic system I've already used before in an old story, I don't really have to think much about this. My main focus of this novel has always been about being able to harvest magic, and it follows a character as he deals with the trauma that has come from having his magic harvested his whole life. Because so much of the plot is going to revolve around magic, I know at least some elements are going to have to be hard. But it's no surprise, if you've been following my channel, you know I love to kind of sit in the middle between hard and soft magic. I love that wonder that soft magic brings, so I'm gonna make sure that there are some soft elements in this magic system. My template has a section for type and phenomenon. This is how I distinguish magic that people use versus magic that just is. For example, to build a Mistborn magic system, I would mostly use the type section, but I might use the phenomenon section to build the ash environment in Mistborn. The Soul Energy magic system I'm fixing didn't have phenomena at all, and I'm thinking that the fixed version won't either, at least not yet. I need to clean up what's already there first, the usable magic, and then maybe something will appear organically. So magic systems don't just come out of nowhere. And I've been sitting on this magic system trying to figure out how to fix it since 2021. Recently I was reading The Brass City, gotta give credit where it's due, and I really liked an idea used in that magic system. I promise I'm not copying, just inspired. In The Brass City, all creations belong to one of 4 elements. There are creatures made of earth, water, fire, and air. People were earth and jinn were fire, I think. When you boil it down, Soul Energy was a elemental magic system just with 10 elements and a buttload of variations. But I'm gonna scrap all of those elements I've been using and use the tried and true classics: earth, air, water, and fire, which I'm calling light. The reason I'm picking the tried and true elements is because the world soul energy exists in was always supposed to be loosely based in Mayan and Aztec cultures. However, the elements I picked for soul energy was all about things I thought were cool. And I think picking more traditional elements makes the system feel more ancient. Plus, I did some very light digging into Mayan symbolism and found water, air, earth, and light cropping up often. So I'm just going to go with it. In the old magic system, each element had a specific symbolic meaning. For example, the language element was truth. I'm going to start by giving my 4 elements their meanings. I'm not going to sit here and say my research into the meanings behind these elements to Mayan and Aztec cultures was deep, and I don't really care to be an expert because it's loosely based on Mayan and Aztec cultures. It's a vibe, not an alternate history situation. So I settled on thought for earth, force for air, sacrifice for water, and the hunt for light. You know what? I think these elements might actually be phenomena. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. For now, that's as far as I'm building these elements, because to build out the actual usable portion of the magic system, I'm going to borrow the idea of soul chemistry, which was to combine elements in interesting ways to create the entire magic system. Instead of 100 plus combinations, I have 6. Water and light, water and earth, water and air, light and earth, light and air, and last, earth and air. I'm gonna put the symbolism in here as well for reference, so that's sacrifice and hunt, sacrifice and thought, sacrifice and force, hunt and thought, hunt and force, and then thought and force. 2 are standing out right away. The first, water and light, or sacrifice and hunt, I'm gonna make perception, which you might remember from the old magic system. I'm really excited to explore how this might change under these new contexts of sacrifice and hunt and water and light. The other one standing out to me is earth and air, or thought and force. I'm gonna call this one language, which was another element in the old system. I think earth and air fit the language aesthetic really well for writing and speech, and exploring language under the context of force will be really interesting. I'm not feeling anything strong out of the other options, so I'm going to just try out a few ideas looking back at the old magic system for inspiration. Light and earth, or hunt and thought, would be an interesting one for telepathy. Telepathy in the old system was rather friendly, but putting hunt in there would put an interesting spin on it. Oh, I'm loving memory for sacrifice and thought, water and earth. I can already see some amazing themes coming out of that. For hunt and force, I'm gonna use this one I called protection before, but I don't think I want to call it that. I actually struggled with this one a lot in the old version. It was protection, and it was also corruption, and it was also just general soul energy manipulation, so ugh. All right, this goes back to how I'm using magic in my story. The original story was about one race who figured out how to harness magic and started taking it from a different race and creating magic tech with that harvested magic. This right here was the magic that made that possible. I think I still want that, so I'm gonna focus on the magic manipulation. I'm gonna put manipulation for now. I think that's gonna be the biggest struggle for this revamp as well, but we'll see. Last is sacrifice and force. I'm feeling spirit. I like the idea that some people sacrifice themselves while others die by force. And choosing spirit actually brings up another issue that I didn't talk about in my roast, and that's limits. The old system had them, but they weren't written anywhere, and they were inconsistent, I guess. I want to build my limits similarly to how I built the spirit magic in the soul chemistry section before. There were some long-term effects, both positive and negative, built into the system for every ability. Let's start with perception. I'm thinking there will be 2 different abilities, changing your physical perspective and changing someone else's perceptions. I'm really liking the costs I've come up with, that for the perspective one, you go blind, and for the perception one, you give up whatever perception you put on someone. So if you mess with someone's hearing, you lose your hearing until you lift the spell. I also like the water light aesthetic. That is gonna look so cool. Next is memory. I've come up with 2 abilities: restoring memories and keeping them. I like the idea that people in general are resistant to it, and you can really only incept 1 memory per person, and it has to be consensual. And I like that the person using the magic will lose their memory over time, the more they repair other people's memories. For spirit, I'm coming up with possession and speaking to the dead. I like that possession has an exchange. And I like the idea that speaking to spirits around you just kind of happens. You don't have much control over it. For telepathy, I'm loving the connection to light. I think that is going to be really fun to play with. For manipulation, I'm stuck. I'm having some ideas about wavelength and air particles, catching different wavelengths, but I need to do either more research or more brainstorming to figure out a connection between light and air and hunt and force. Finally, for language, I'm using 2 old ideas: the revealing truth idea and persuasion. I love the addition of dust into the mix. It will add a lot of sensational value to the abilities. The system obviously isn't complete. I left one of the columns blank and I haven't touched the elements at all. Plus, I haven't really extrapolated how this affects the world, and I don't think it'll be worth doing that because I just have a magic system at this point. Plus, I want to leave some exploration for the story. I really like exploring the themes and the elements of the magic through story, and I'm guessing that some of these original ideas are going to morph and shift as I play around with this world. Wow, guys, this video was so much fun. I'm thinking I'm gonna do a whole series on it, just roasting this world and cleaning it up. I really want to write a book in this world and have it make some kind of sense, so I've got to clean it up anyway at some point. Might as well have some fun doing it with you guys. I also had a spin-off idea to roast y'all's magic system and maybe fix it too, but literally none of you guys ever comment, so I don't even know if you guys have magic systems. For all I know, you guys are just like Slenderman creeping in the background. Anyway, subscribe for some fun, like the video, and check out another one right here.